As many of you know, we sometimes have some minor controversies now and then at the Board of Ed. All the extraordinary good work and achievements that our teachers and our students are out there accomplishing all the time. And
Can you turn it?
maybe they can turn the mic up. So it's important to note the positive, the many positive achievements of our teachers and our students and their parents. And so our first item tonight on our spotlight is going to be recognizing the Norwalk Marching Bears. And for that, Ms. Keys.
Great, thank you, Mr. Lyons. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to our spotlight section of our agenda for tonight, Tuesday, December 2nd, 2014. And tonight, we're going to be honoring Norwalk High's marching band who wins the national championship. On November 15th, just 2 weeks after winning a local championship, the Norwalk High School band paraded into MetLife Stadium and marched out with a national championship. Today, we are proud to recognize the Norwalk Marching Band, winner of the 2014 U.S. Bands Open Class National Championship. Norwalk's performance capped an event that ran nonstop from 8 in the morning until midnight and included 60 high school marching bands from across the country. After rehearsing all day in Norwalk, the band traveled to the stadium to take the field at 10:45 at night and to perform in cold 30-degree weather. Norwalk competed in the final category, Class 6, which includes some of the largest and most competitive band programs in the whole country. Norwalk took the championship with a score of 97.375, besting the second-place band from South Brunswick, New Jersey, and the third-place finisher from Monroe, Georgia. Our band was awarded a first-place banner and a 10-foot-tall trophy. I have to say the 10-foot-tall trophy, I asked Chris if he could bring it in, but it wouldn't fit in your car, correct? All right, so that couldn't happen. But I believe we brought a lot of the band members, and we brought some banners and a video that we're going to show. They also won awards for Best Percussion, Best Visual, and Best Overall Effect. 2 weeks prior, the band won its third consecutive championship in the national class of the Musical Arts Conference, the local home circuit for the Norwalk Marching Band. At the MAC competition, the band persevered through rainy, windy, freezing cold temperatures to deliver a winning performance. MetLife Stadium, home of the Giants and the Jets, is not only the high-profile place that the band will perform in this year. In February of this year, members of the marching band will travel all the way to Orlando, Florida, to perform in the Walt Disney World Parade down Main Street. On behalf of us, the entire Board of Ed, we want to congratulate the 140 students in the 2014 Norwalk High Marching Band. We are proud of your teamwork, your dedication, and commitment to excellence. Congratulations also to the band director, Chris Rivera, the band instructors, staff, and to the Marching Bear families for their support of these students all year long. Ralph, if we could show the video of the band performing. all of you. I think, Chris, there's like 15 students. I think it's probably 5. Oh, 5. That's fine. But I love also seeing everyone in the audience just watching, so we really congratulate all of you. So come on over.
All right, and for those of you who are here for the band event, if you have homework to do or other things to carry you on, you're free to go. And we thank you very much for coming out and really emphasizing a real strong positive aspect about our school system. All right, next item on the agenda is public comments. Mr. Kasimis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming out tonight to participate in the public comments portion of our meeting. In order for us to hear from all of you, I ask that you please adhere to the following guidelines. When it is your turn to speak, please come to the podium, which is located right over there, and give us your name and address for the record. At that point, you will have 3 minutes to make your comments. It is my 3 minutes, according to my Apple iPhone. So please do not go over the 3 minutes. When you have 30 seconds left, I will wave my hand like this, at which point I ask that you begin to conclude your comments. I also ask that your comments remain civil. And according to Webster's dictionary, civil means to adhere to the norms of polite social communication and not to be lacking in common courtesy. If at any point I feel that you have crossed the line, you will forfeit your minutes. Just so that we can make this run smoother, I will call out 2 names. The second name will be on deck for those that know anything about baseball. All right? So, the first 2 is M.J. Sharona and Gloria Tanofsky.
Good evening, Chairman Lyons and Board of Education members. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me and my concerns. My name is MJ Corona, and I have resided at 21 Geneva Road in Norwalk over the past 19 years. I'm the lead facilitator of the Norwalk Acts Family and Parent Task Force, which is a diverse group of Norwalk families, parents, and guardians focused on increasing parent involvement in Norwalk. And I have a couple of the task force members here with me who are in support of what I have to say, or we have to say. So over the past few years, parents, families, and children have been negatively impacted by the high turnover of superintendents. And for the benefits of our children, we need to solve this issue. We are here today mourning the loss of a great leader in Norwalk. My children have been in the Norwalk public school system since 1998, when our superintendent was Ralph Sloan, which some of you may remember. In all of these years, we never had a superintendent like Dr. Rivera. Dr. Rivera has shown us what true leadership is and how to move our school district forward. He has had a vision. He has inspired us, parents, teachers, school staff, volunteers, community members, to set high expectations for all of our children. He is the first superintendent over the past 20 years who has brought hope and a strategic plan to educate all of our children. And it is clear, based on the high turnover of superintendents, that Norwalk is a challenging place to work. Our system is not working and is dysfunctional. And as parents, we want clarification with regards to the roles of the superintendent, the administration, and the Board of Education members, and specifically the management of the superintendent by the Board of Education. We cannot withstand another loss of a great leader. As a community, we are all accountable to each and every child in the city of Norwalk. And it is critical that we all work together to not only recruit high caliber superintendents, but to support these superintendents in a collaborative environment with a tolerance for risk-taking and the confidence and full support of you, the Board of Education. Finally, we must never forget that our main focus should be educating and helping our children. Thank you for your time and commitment to the children of Norwalk.
Thank you. On deck, we have Ms. Lauren Rosado.
Good evening. My name is Gloria Tanofsky, 9 Christopher Lane. I'm the Executive Director of the Norwalk Education Foundation, as well as a parent in Norwalk Public Schools. The news of Dr. Rivera's resignation was truly distressing. He brought excellence to Norwalk, as well as a belief that we could move beyond mediocrity to achieve greatness. What happened? The community supported him. The governor supported him, as evidenced by the decision to pilot the first early college academy in Norwalk. Outside funders believed in his vision and supported key initiatives with millions of dollars. However, it's clear that there were forces in play who did not support him. I'm not here to point fingers or scapegoat. Instead, I'm here to say this cannot go on. There's just too much at stake. We have children who are watching the adults in this community. They model our behavior and they learn about what we value. What will they learn from this latest loss? That we don't value their lives and futures? That adults in positions of power are driven by their needs and wants and not by what is best for students? That positive change isn't something to champion and strive for? I'm here tonight to challenge all of us to put aside personal feelings for the greater good of our community. We cannot afford this revolving door of superintendents. We need to support our district leadership in moving Norwalk Public Schools from fair to great. It can be done, but it takes trusted leadership and a willingness to change. Parents are here tonight to show our collective dismay that our highly respected superintendent is leaving. We will stay involved, pushing for systemic improvements in the education of our children. We expect better than this for the future of all Norwalk children.
Thank you. On deck is Christine Smith.
My name is Lauren Rosado. I reside at 597 Westport Avenue, and I'm speaking as a parent. First, my thanks to Dr. Rivera for the brief but very productive time spent here in Norwalk. The short-term goals that you've achieved has given us hope that we can close our achievement gap, that we can raise education standards and rigor for all children, and that we can truly have a quality school system. Your resignation has also brought to light what many of us have known to be problematic for a very long time: board micromanagement, hypercriticism of the superintendent, administrator insubordination, use of the race card, and lots of broken records like I'm abstaining because process wasn't followed, and it's all for the kids, it's all for the kids. Well, what's different today? We'll look around. Parents are angry and we're deeply disturbed by the superintendent turnover. And we are uniting. Decades of leadership stranglehold by old gatekeepers and their current Board of Education members is known throughout the entire parent community and the Norwalk community at large. It's out in the public, the dirty laundry is airing in the media and the blogs and all over social media. So what needs to change? Lines of communication that feed the insubordination, the micromanagement, and the hypercriticism need to be removed. Defund the central office positions or change the job descriptions to reflect the real district needs, match the education levels to the job duties and not to the person. Remove insubordinate administrators from their current positions. Put them in a rubber room if you can't cut them off from their power base. Board of Ed members who micromanage need to resign. You are hurting our children because you are not bringing us a quality education. Instead, you are causing turmoil and upheaval. The Democratic Party needs to put forth better candidates from certain districts. Teachers and administrators need to vote out decade-old leadership. You feed into the old Norwalk way. Your PTOs are watching, your parents are watching, your students are watching. We're watching how you vote. Parents, you need to come to these meetings consistently, hold people accountable, and run for the Board of Ed. If we want a stellar education system, we have to move to a new Norwalk way. What is that? It's the continued implementation of Dr. Rivera's strategic plan. It's an interim superintendent who will keep things moving and not be bullied. It's private funders who will remain at the table. It's mass voting in local Board of Education elections. It's parents running for education Board of Ed positions. And it's the PTO Council becoming a watch group starting tonight and reporting back to parents on a consistent level.
On deck, we have Ms. Sue Haney.
My name is Christine Smith. I live at 68 Wilson Avenue. I've been a Norwalk resident since 1999. My 4 children have been involved in the Norwalk public school system since 2003. And I don't have anything prepared. My predecessors said it very well for me, but I just wanted to speak from the heart and say that Dr. Rivera's resignation shook things up for me. I'm an involved parent. I've been involved in PTC, PTA of elementary, middle school, and currently at Brian McMahon High School. And I have faith, I'm losing faith in the Norwalk public school system with the fractured Board of Education and the fact that we can't attract and retain a superintendent. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. On deck, we have Ms. Karen Derry. Davy. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sue Haney. I live at 7 Christopher Lane in Norwalk. I'm a former Board of Ed member, and I was on the Board of Ed with 3 different interims, Dr. Papalo, Dr. Nast, and Mr. Dodana. And I was also on the Board of Ed when we hired 2 great reform-minded and student-focused superintendents, Dr. Rivera and Dr. Marks. Superintendent Marks ushered in the Common Core, Briggs Turnaround, K-5 Wireless Gen, the SEED evaluation, and brought in over $5 million in outside funding. She was taken down by the Norwalk Federation of Teachers, the NASA administration, Old Norwalk Way folks, and their friends on the Board of Ed. With Superintendent Rivera, we're losing a rock star, a visionary, and a funding magnet. In a short tenure filled with a laundry list of remarkable achievements, one stands out as exceptional. Dr. Rivera put in place a policy to close the achievement gap by 2020. That's 5 years from now. I know of no district in Connecticut or in the nation where a superintendent has dared to do this. He didn't stop there. He detailed how to implement the policy, and then he found outside funding to make it work. It's truly exceptional. Most people in this room realize how much we've gained and how much we've lost in the last 4 years. The PTO Council's idea of tracking Board of Ed votes is timely. Since the PTOC is unfunded and run by parent volunteers, they could probably use some help from the community, perhaps in the form of an ombudsman or some type of third-party entity. It's essential that parents and community know what's going on. The unions have been tracking votes for years. In this last election, the unions endorsed current Board of Ed members, Republican Artie Kasimis and Democrat Shirley Mosby, not for their political party, their gender, or their race, but for their actions and past voting records. Meanwhile, the Board of Ed, Norwalk Board of Ed, must not stop the momentum, hire an outside interim, and begin the search process for a new superintendent immediately. It was a mistake to do what we did last time, hire as an interim a consummate insider with an interest in the job. This district has no time to waste, no time for shenanigans. Don't hit the pause button, don't stop the momentum. And Dr. Rivera, thank you for lighting our way, and best of luck in New London.
Can they have one of these for short people?
It'll bend down.
Hold on. On deck, we have Ms. Jody Sattler. Okay.
Hi, my name is Karen Davey, and I reside at 70 Bain Street. I am the VP of Educational Services for the PTO Council. The Norwalk PTO Council is deeply disturbed by the recent announcements of Dr. Rivera's resignation. We are angry that another eminently qualified superintendent is leaving Norwalk Public Schools, due largely to the actions of some members of the Board of Education. The PTO Council cannot tolerate board members following their own political agendas at the expense of our children's education. Board members have been entrusted by the voters of Norwalk to ensure quality education for all children. We believe they are not all meeting this obligation. Newark schools have made some great strides recently. Evidence is seen in the early collegiate academy at Newark High School and the coming international baccalaureate program at Brian McMahon. We now have comprehensive curricula aligned to the Common Core in math and literacy. There is an evolving strategic plan to ready our schools for the future. We have seen improvements to facilities and infrastructures, and new funders are supporting our school with private grants and donations. In light of all the positive accomplishments, however, some things have not changed, and they are harming our school district and our children. Because of this, the PTO Council has decided to become more proactive. Going forward, we plan to evaluate board members' performance and report back to our parent community. Board member qualifications and report cards will be issued around election cycles in a nonpartisan fashion. We encourage our parents to get more involved and run for Board of Education seats. As parents, we have more at stake in this issue than anyone else. Without engaged parents, our professional educators will be unable to close the achievement gap, will fail to effectively improve school life, and will see few positive outcomes from their efforts. Along with our parent community, the Newark PTO Council will be vigilant in ensuring that the mission of the Board of Education continues to be aligned with the highest aspirations of our children. We would like to thank Dr. Riviera.
30 seconds.
That's it. For all his hard work, for restoring confidence in our school, and for giving us hope. We wish him all the best in next chapter. He will be sorely missed. We thank you, Dr. Riviera, for believing in us.
On deck, we have Ms. Megan Hopkins.
My name is Jody Sattler. I live at 17 Highland Avenue. I have 3 children in elementary school. I have been active in supporting this district for the past 6 years, and I've seen ups and downs, but I've never had the wind knocked out of me like I did when I heard Dr. Rivera was leaving. But I can't blame him. Attending these meetings and watching the showmanship and passive-aggressive behavior was like watching an accident happen in slow motion. So now it's time again for all of us to stand up and ask for change. I would like to use the example of the ELA curriculum approval process for how we need to do things differently. I attended many of the meetings because it was important to me that my children finally get a standard curriculum in elementary school. And I was frustrated by the lack of a curriculum. Before Dr. Rivera, there were numerous meetings, very little movement by one of the highest paid city employees who was in charge of curriculum, and the ELA instructional specialist. I was so excited when Dr. Rivera arrived and got to work right away to offer the district 2 excellent options for ELA. And then it came before the Board of Ed. Instead of trusting our superintendent, who has a PhD in education and 30 years of experience, I watched 3 unprepared board members slow the ELA approval process to almost a complete stop. It was obvious that people were trying to make my children's curriculum a politicized power play. Instead of letting the expert make the decision, they wanted to get more input. They wanted more time. The process was not followed properly. I know this is old news, and the exceptional members of the Board of Ed approved the curriculum, but there is a moral to my story. We need to trust our superintendent, and we need the inactive members of central office and the Board of Ed to retire or step aside. I use the ELA example because I see what comes home in my children's homework every day. And for all of those who thought that CKLA was not a good choice and a good option, let me read to you what my 2nd grader wrote in her journal the other day. 8 years old. What are some ways the Yangtze and the Yellow River helped ancient Chinese civilization grow into an empire? The Yangtze and the Yellow River made ancient China a bigger civilization by giving water and food for the Chinese. More settlers heard that from the water, the Chinese made good inventions for growing food on their own with fertile soil. The settlers liked that they could grow their own food, so more people started moving there. But it probably made it really bustling. She had to use that word. This level of writing would not have occurred without the work that Dr. Rivera did for curriculum, and to her great teacher, Tammy Malkin. It's time for change, and it's time for us to trust the boss. Thank you, Dr. Rivera and the board members, and thank you for your time.
On deck is Mr. Michael Byrne.
Good evening. My name is Megan Hopkins. I live at 1 McAllister Avenue here in Norwalk. I'm a Norwalk taxpayer, a voter, the parent of 2 children at Columbus Magnet School, and a member of our PTA and our governance committee. After living through the ups and downs of Norwalk Public Schools during my 13 years here, the past 18 months have been a period of hope, growth, and positivity. We have successfully implemented new Common Core-based math and reading programs, built new innovative programs in our high school, and we actually had a budget surplus. If anyone remembers, a couple summers ago, we spent a lot of nights here when we had no money, and now we had a budget surplus. About a month ago, the Columbus Governance Committee had a meeting with Dr. Rivera, and during that meeting, we were looking across the room and feeling like we had to pinch ourselves because we had so much hope, and we were so excited about the promise that we felt with Dr. Rivera as our leader. When I got home that night, I actually had tears in my eyes talking to my husband about how excited I was for our school and for our community. And then that day, I got a text from a friend saying, "Did you see the thing in the hour? Dr. Rivera is leaving." And that was crushing. And it could be a crushing blow to our school system. To let all of these hopes that we've had die right now would be terrible. So my challenge to you, the Board of Education, is to not let us go backward. The future of our school district is in your hands, and I beg you to put aside your political designations, focus on education, and work together as a team. If the petty bickering, micromanagement, name-calling, and divisiveness continues, we will not be able to attract another superintendent of Dr. Rivera's caliber, and we will slide back. It's up to the 9 of you to keep our hopes alive and to continue the progress we made. Thank you.
Thank you. On deck, we have Ms. Joanna Cooper.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Education. My name is Michael Byrne. I live at 8 Mohakamo Drive, and I'm president of the PTO Council of Norwalk. Last week, after a lengthy meeting with representatives from schools across the city, the PTO Council issued a statement regarding the resignation of Superintendent Rivera. That statement was covered widely by local media. In it, we expressed anger and frustration that the actions of certain members of this board were influential in Dr. Rivera's decision to leave. Dr. Rivera brought with him a strong vision for the future, and he began to create a culture of pride in our schools. He understood that Norwalk could have a first-rate educational system, and we believed him. In the end, however, it appears that the cycle of divisive and self-defeating politics that for too long has characterized this board has once again impacted our children. Tonight, I call upon the parents of Norwalk to join us in taking a stand for our children. The PTO Council is committed to engaging and mobilizing parents, our system's most critical resource. We are ready to help, but you must lead. As voters, we will direct our energy at removing obstructionist members of this board beginning next November. Going forward, we will monitor and evaluate board performance and communicate such with our parent base. We should not, however, assume that removing a few obstructionists will solve all of our problems. These people are not able to cause such mayhem in isolation. There are paid administrators of Norwalk Public Schools that have provided a soft landing for those who would derail reform. We ask that the responsible members of this board move to hire an interim whose prime directive is to clear the ground for the next superintendent. We want the forces of the status quo eliminated within this school district. Our children have only one chance at a quality education, and we cannot let them down again. Thank you.
Thank you. On deck is Ms. Nora King.
My name is Joanna Cooper, 4 Shadow Lane. I'm a certified teacher and a passionate advocate for students with disabilities, but care about all the kids in Norwalk Public Schools and our district. I'm a former 3-time governor's appointee to the State Advisory Council on Special Education. I served at the State Department of Education under this statutory position for 8 years. My job there was to advise the State Department of Education, the Commissioner of Education, and the legislature on the unmet needs of our children and youth with disabilities, to advise on a host of issues such as legislative public policies, best teaching practices, effective services, professional development for teachers, and educating the public. Further responsibilities included reviewing and analyzing state data and disability guidelines and more. I'm a mother of a special needs child who's been in the district for 14 years. And during those 14 years, I've been in the Norwalk schools almost on a daily basis, in volunteer positions, various committees, and I'm familiar with the student body, the teachers, the Board of Ed, and the system in general. I would like to address the three Board of Ed members, Ms. Mosby, Ms. Rivas, and Ms. Murray. Your claims of discrimination against the board, Chairman of the Board, Mike Lyons, are extremely disturbing, and I understand on a deeply personal level what it feels like to experience discrimination, not because of the color of my skin, but because of my child's disabilities. Because of this personal experience, I have little tolerance for this kind of hate, and I would be the first one to back all of you ladies. However, the fact that you will not offer any proof of these claims you say you hold to an impartial agency to allow for an investigation and a resolution, I question your motives. If you strongly believe that you are being discriminated against, then why not follow through on your claims and attempt to resolve them through the proper channels? Only by doing so will there be a real resolution. It is disingenuous and selfish to let these ugly claims hang like an ominous cloud over Norwalk. It has been 5 months now. This is a district that embraces diversity, and the last place that this should happen. I may not attend the Board of Ed meetings regularly, but I watch them on TV. One particular meeting comes to mind where you claim a certain issue is a perfect example.
20 seconds left.
Okay, of how you're being left out of the process. That was the busing issue. You were completely misinformed. The busing issue is a state.
Nobody else is going to be interrupted,
Is a
so let this
state-
person finish.
Is a state initiative, and you didn't. You were arguing venomously with our superintendent and treating him like a schoolboy over a $20,000 special education busing contract when it's
That's it.
minuscule.
Time's up.
All right, time's up.
Oh, shoot. All right, well, I wanted to say thank you, and I hope to Dr. Rivera for his outstanding.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
I hope that
Thank you. Okay, on deck we have Ms. Barbara Meyer Mitchell. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Nora King. I live at 17 Covewood Drive. I have a son in first grade, and my daughter will be in the school system in 2 years. I am distressed over the recent resignation of our rock star, Manny Rivera. We as parents and you as the members of the Board of Education cannot allow this to continue. Some changes need to be made. The behavior of a few members of this board, namely 3, need to start acting in a professional manner and put the interest of their kids, of our kids, before their own interest. If not, you should resign. Political parties need to start nominating candidates that have the qualifications to be on the Board of Ed. It is not just about, I love children. It is also about doing what is the best for all children and having the business skills to make that happen. We all love children, or most of us love children. You need qualifications to be able to serve on the board. There is a business acumen needed, as well as the ability to have a vision of strategy of what is needed today to educate our children tomorrow and 5 or 10 years down the road. I can only speak for the Democratic Party, not the Republicans, because I am a member of the Democratic Party. I am proud to be a Democrat. What I am not proud of is how certain Democrats in our party do not have the best interest of the city of Norwalk at heart, and how they continue to try to manipulate their own needs, or in some cases use race to try to bully their own agendas. I don't really care what the color of your skin is, if you are male or female, Latino, white, black, Chinese, or Muslim. What I care about is being a part of a city that has a vibrant, culturally diverse community, but also offers a top-notch quality education. We cannot continue to allow certain members of the Board of Ed to operate like they have been for the past few years. Tough decisions need to be made by this majority. You need to clean house and pave the way to give the next superintendent a chance to want to stay. Tony Dodona should not be made interim superintendent. He is part of the old school, and he should be asked to retire. The new superintendent should have the opportunity to bring in his or her own administration. There are members of the staff and the Board of Ed that have conflicts of interest that have been detrimental to our educational school system within Norwalk. An employee of the Norwalk public school system should not be in a position of political power to influence the choice of a chairman for the Board of Education. Bruce Morris has that conflict of interest. He should either be defunded for the 2015 budget, or he should be resigning as chairman of District B, where he influences Board of Education candidates. He receives a salary of $80,000 as a human relation officer for the city of Norwalk. Shirley Mosby has also had a conflict of interest and has refused to recuse herself from decisions regarding the custodian union run by her father
She got 3 seconds.
Okay.
for
Hold it up,
causes.
hold it up, hold it up. I want people to stop interrupting speakers, because when any of you get up to speak, I'm going to make sure people don't interrupt you. All right? Now, the basic point here, okay? Freedom of speech means that people sometimes get to say things other people don't like to hear. I sit here every meeting getting told things I don't like to hear, and I don't stop people from saying it. I expect you people to behave exactly the same way. You people, as everybody in the room, to behave exactly the same way that I behave when people are critiquing. And if you don't, I will clear the room, which I have the right to do under the Freedom of Information Act, and as the mayor knows. So let's try to be civil. You got about 5 seconds left. Go.
We'll turn the clock back.
Thank you, Manny. We need leadership that can fill the goal that Manny Rivera set for closing the achievement gap by 2020. Decisions made in the next few months
That's
will
it.
have
That's it.
lasting impact
Thank
on
you.
our children.
That's it. On deck is Miss Audra Good.
First, I want to thank you all for your service. Being a member of the Board of Education is a huge commitment.
I need your name and address for the record.
Excuse me, Barbara Meyer Mitchell, 10 Allen Road, Norwalk.
Thank you.
Secondly, I want to thank Dr. Rivera for his hard work and his service for his short tenure here in Norwalk. We are very sorry to see you go. I also want to apologize because when Dr. Rivera was hired, I took my eye off the ball. I trusted you all to work together to make our school system great. Believe me, you have my full attention now. Two important topics right now are who will replace Dr. Rivera and who will serve as interim while we conduct the search. My hope is that we will rise above politics in this matter and select someone as interim who can keep in place the progress we have made. I believe you made the right choice with Dr. Rivera, and I hope that we can find a quality replacement for him as soon as possible. I also hope that Dr. Rivera, who knows the inner workings of our system now, will be included in the choice of our interim superintendent. Some say that Norwalk is now toxic and we won't be able to attract a quality candidate. This may be true, I hope not. I appeal to you to find a way to work together professionally for the duration that this particular Board of Education is working together. The community is addressing whether we need to identify new candidates for the board. I want to assure you that people are watching to see how you all conduct yourselves. Our children's education is at stake. In my household, that is our top priority, and we vote and act accordingly. My children are here tonight. I'd like to address some of the issues that are lesser important than those that I as a parent see happening here in Norwalk, and these are the issues that I'd love to see you start working on with your next superintendent. Infrastructure. In our school, We don't have the electricity to support the Chromebooks that our PTO has raised the money to buy. Special education. Norwalk's approach to special education must become proactive, focusing on early intervention instead of the current obstructionist wait-and-see and red tape attitude that has prevailed of late. All research shows that early intervention can save children, families, and our district a lot of money and heartbreak in the long run. Academically talented. 1 hour every 6th school day at the elementary level is insufficient. Similarly, there needs to be some oversight to ensure that differentiation is happening in the classroom. Finally, science. Everybody hears me saying this. Here's the good news. The textbook that you have provided your children, our children, is excellent. Here's the bad news. Many of the teachers in the classroom are not doing any of the experiments in the books, at least at the elementary level. I advocate for teaching children science as a process rather than just memorizing facts. The scientific method is invaluable in all areas of life.
Thank you.
Even when
That's 3 minutes.
evaluating your Board of Education.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
One second. On deck is Mr. Patrick Bagos. Okay.
Thank you. Dr. Vera, Mr. Mayor, members of the Board of Education, thank you for your time. My name is Audra Good. I'm a parent on all 3 levels, elementary school, middle school, and high school.
I need your address.
Oh, I'm sorry. I live at 3 Cottontail Road.
Thanks.
I've seen many budget cycles and times of crisis in our district through the years. Thankfully, there was always one constant in my children's schools: amazing teachers and administration who always remained professional and caring, and my children have thrived in the Norwalk public school system. I felt the devastation of the budget crisis 2 years ago that decimated our elementary schools. So like many NPS parents, I breathed a sigh of relief the first time I met Dr. Rivera, and again every time I've heard him speak, including just a few weeks ago when I left the meeting feeling very positive. He brought hope and a positive outlook to Norwalk and many positive changes. He is an excellent speaker who also followed through with many of his initiatives and made things happen quickly. I thought the worst was behind us, and I was lulled into complacency. I admit that I have not attended a Board of Ed meeting in 2 years, since I last came to ask for another teacher to correct the overloaded class my son had as a 3rd grader with 28 students 2 years ago in his class. Since I have not been here, I had no idea of the negativity and political drama that was still taking place. At the recent budget forum at Rhoton, I heard that attendance had been extremely sparse at the other meetings. We need to support efforts such as those at times and be there when the superintendent is reaching out. So I'm kind of talking to the parents. In hindsight, coming out only in times of crisis is not enough and not what this district needs. We all need to stay focused, hold people accountable, and be supportive when this new superintendent arrives by attending Board of Education meetings, budget meetings, supporting the PTO Council, your own PTOs, and voting on Election Day. I'm asking the Board of Education to please see the positive changes happening in Norwalk and find a replacement that can ensure a smooth transition forward, continuing many of the grants and initiatives Dr. Rivera brought to Norwalk. We are here tonight out of fear of things returning to the Norwalk of 2 years ago. Please do not let that happen. I hope Dr. Rivera can be a part of choosing the interim and possibly his replacement to continue the positive path forward we were on. Thank you, Dr. Rivera, for all you have done for Norwalk. I wish you the best of luck in your new position. I hope the Board of Education can find a way to work together and guide us through this crisis and not back to a district of turmoil. Our parents and teachers always know who they are here for, the children. Please follow their example.
Thank you. On deck, we have Ms. Sarah Waters. Okay.
Hi, I'm Patrick Bagos. I live at 10 Richmond Road. I'm co-president of the Brian McMahon Parents Club, have been for 3 years. And for the last 16 years, I've had at least one kid in the Norwalk Public Schools. I have 2 there right now. I have to say, when I first heard the news that Dr. Rivera was resigning, my first reaction was shock. Right now, I feel more embarrassed than anything else. I liked to think that I was a reasonably well-informed parent. I don't attend Board of Ed meetings. Frankly, I have better things to do than to attend Board of Ed meetings. But I don't think that you should expect parents to attend Board of Ed meetings to stay current on what's going on in the school system. For the last 2 years, my understanding had been that the board, aside from a couple of sideshows and circuses, had been acting in a very professional way. We've had good budget cycles. We've implemented the Common Core. We've done a lot of good things, and it seemed like we were in an era where things were working well. And I learned now that it was apparently, common knowledge to half of the town, but apparently not me, that there was insubordination within the administration, and that the circus atmosphere on the Board of Ed went far beyond the crazy accusations of racism. Why isn't the Board of Ed telling parents what's going on? Why isn't the Board of Ed, why hasn't the Board of Ed, why hasn't the mayor been telling us what's going on in the administration? Why hasn't the superintendent been telling us what's happening in the administration? If there are people who are insubordinate, who are interfering with developing new plans and changing around the board operates, why aren't we hearing that? I don't expect Dr. Rivera to have announced beforehand that he was intending to leave, but he was at a meeting of the Brian McMahon Parents Club about 2 weeks ago. I didn't hear a word about problems or discord within the administration. I call on all of you to please figure out some way to let us know, to keep us informed. If we can't be at every Board of Ed meeting, you should figure out a way to let us know what's really going on in the administration. We shouldn't hear about it when a cataclysmic event like the resignation of the superintendent takes place. The last thing I want to say is that I listened to what everybody has said. One person I want to single out. Everything Lauren Rosado said is perfect and is completely right in my view. I think you should take her notes, you should distribute them to the Board of Ed, and you should try to implement everything that she suggested you do. Thank you.
Thank you. On deck, we have Miss Jane Walters.
Hi, I'm Sarah Waters, 152 Witch Lane, and I have 3 boys that are waiting in the Norwalk Public School system. I want to say I'm a firm believer in that saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But let's face it, pre-Dr. Rivera, Norwalk in 2012 was a system near the breaking point. I thought we were all in agreement in that. Maybe I was wrong, but I thought we were. And so I thought we were all going to get behind Dr. Rivera. I thought we all wanted to turn around the system for the good of all of our children, for our teachers, for our local economy. Yet here we are today with a second superintendent that has resigned. And what was the straw that broke the superintendent's back? Was it something that our elected Board of Ed members were doing? Was it some of our chief school administrators who are salaried by our tax dollars? Have they worked to stall and undermine our superintendent's initiatives? And if that's so, if they have done that, for what reason? To keep things the way that they were? I just would like to know why that has been done. Do your constituents know that that was your goal? Is that what you were doing? I've watched the Board of Ed videos, not all of them, but I've watched some of them, and it seems to me that that might have been going on. But the public needs to know why that was going on. And is there some better approach that you think we should have? But my answer, and I think a lot of people's answers back, would still be that we want the new way. We want Dr. Rivera's new way. Parents, myself included, had started to believe again in our school system. We had talking points, we had new initiatives. We believed the system was going to a new and a better place. We believed in a new way, and we were starting to believe in Norwalk again. I'm begging those in a position of power, do what it takes to move us forward. Perhaps we need an inquiry. As we've said, a lot of us didn't know the details of what was going on. The inquiry would need to look at some Board of Ed members, at Board of Ed, the dysfunction perhaps that's on here, and what we could do to fix that, and at central office. We need an environment in which a positive, forward-looking, and inclusive superintendent, like the two we recently lost, can succeed. So Dr. Rivera moves on, we need the new way to carry on. Help us to remove the administrators and any Board of Ed members who have worked diligently to undermine the process. They're wasting invaluable time, energy, and tax dollars. They are hurting our kids and our schools. Thank you all for all the time that you give.
Thank you.
I know this is an unpaid position.
Thank
you guys
you.
are amazing. Thank you.
On deck, I think it's Susan Lanzarata. Is that correct? Okay. Go ahead.
Good evening. Jane Walters, 14 Bob White Drive. I'm a Norwalk realtor, have been for the past 19 years, but I'm here this evening as a Norwalk High School grandmother. Dr. Rivera, I don't personally know you, but I certainly know of you. You have implemented positive change, and we were just beginning to hear the buzz of good things happening in Norwalk versus the flight from Norwalk because of our school's reputation. I've caught up by watching the Board of Education meetings online, and I'm here tonight to see it in action and to determine if everyone has the interests of our children and our community at heart, so that I can make an educated decision in next year's election. Thank you, Dr. Rivera, for your efforts to bring about change in Norwalk, and I wish you much success in New London. They're very fortunate to have you. Thank you.
On deck is Miss Lisa Thompson.
Hi, my name is Susan Lanzarato. I live at 9 Daphne Drive, and I have 3 kids in Norwalk Public Schools, 1 in Nathan Hale and 2 at Wolf Pit. I'm a board member of the Wolf Pit PTO, and I'm speaking tonight on their behalf. We stand here yet again because we've lost another qualified superintendent who gave us hope and could have made a long-term difference in our community. How disappointing that we are left hanging in the middle of the school year. Does it matter that we're disappointed? Yes, but what really matters is that our kids have been disappointed and let down once again. We need to take a hard look at how we got here and why. We need to all ask ourselves, what is our role in this? As the Board of Ed, it is important that you ask yourself this as well. What could be done differently going forward to make sure that we do right by our kids and don't allow this to happen again? Ask yourself, am I doing what I was elected to do? Am I a role model for these kids in all situations? Am I leading by example and putting into practice what we teach our kids every day in school? The value of teamwork, compromise, and respect. We all need to understand what our role is and what our role is not. We need to stop trying to push individual objectives and agendas and work for the betterment of our kids. This is not an option, but a necessity. Our kids deserve this. As voters and parents, it is our job to demand this. As elected officials, it's your job to deliver this. If you're not achieving this, it is our job to speak loudly and vote for change. As a community, we need to hold you accountable so that our kids are getting what they need and deserve. We support the PTOC in their quest to evaluate and make visible to all voters your performance as board members. I ask each of you to choose our kids above all else because that is what you are elected to do. It's time to put personal issues aside and focus on the kids by choosing to make a difference. Let's learn from the past, work together, and make our schools stronger going forward by being open and truly welcoming to the next leader of our schools. None of us want to disappoint our kids again by having the same conversation 2 years from now. Thank you.
Thank you. And on deck, we have Miss It says B. Penn Williams. B. Penn Williams? Is that who it is? Okay.
Lisa Thompson, 24 Highland Avenue. Well, here we are again. We're not in the concert hall crisis mode. We're in the Common Council crisis hall mode. Thank you, Dr. Rivera. I want to say that before I forget anything. Thank you for your time here and what you brought for Norwalk. Norwalk's a tough, tough place. But employees and the Board of Ed must bear responsibility. And not just Ms. Mosby or Mr. Rivers or Ms. Murray. That may be surprising for you to hear that coming from me, but I don't hold you responsible. This has been going on for a long, long time. In 2000 and over a decade. But everyone, while you clap, I'm not trying to get the black vote here. We all have to. No. When you shut, someone clap at me. I'm not. Here, just let's finish. I don't want to waste my time.
Back on target.
In 2007,
Back on track.
In 2007, the Cambridge report said, "Improve the district culture and climate, which is regarded by many in schools, central office, and the community, including parents, is lacking in openness and authenticity." That was 2007. In 2008, the correct report on special ed said Norwalk schools, throughout numerous sources of information collected, there was often a common thread of mistrust evident between and among all groups, the BOE, the administration, teachers, staff, and parents. The 2011 GE report said the challenges facing this district are significant obstacles to overcome. A number of these challenges are rooted in the very heart of Norwalk Public Schools culture. And the 2012 correct report said little evidence of anything was done based upon the 2008 recommendations. So long as public education, and not just in Norwalk, has to wait for the obstructionist and tenured status quo to retire, supported by complacent politicians or Board of Ed members over the years who have favored adults over our students, we will suffer. And our tax dollars will fund mediocrity. The status quo spans the socioeconomic spectrum. 2 years ago, parents in Darien filed a special ed lawsuit against the status quo in their district. Their superintendent stepped down. New London's Board of Ed, sunk to rock bottom, was taken over by the state, has now been redistricted into magnet schools, and now they're getting our Dr. Rivera. Is Norwalk seeking to be so ungovernable that the state takes us over? Can the new Norwalk expect to throw $250,000 at one individual and believe he or she can turn around the $160 million old Norwalk? I say they can't. You look at the faces of Dr. Marks and Dr. Rivera when they came to our district, and they were bright and cheery. And you see the exhaustion on their faces as they fight over the most trivial. It's our responsibility in this room to drive Norwalk to be the great district it can be. And that's all I'm asking people to do. Our legacy cannot be a greater achievement gap and middle-class flight and stagnated property values. We're a better city than that, folks.
Thank you. Brenda Penn Williams?
No, it's Brenda Tyson.
It says Brenda Penn Williams.
Yes. I'm taking her place.
I don't have her listed here.
She's taking her time.
Okay. Okay, hold on. On deck is Miss Carolyn Fuller. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Brenda Tyson, 48 Teller Avenue. I am born, bred in Norwalk. I went to Norwalk High. My daughter went to McMahon. My daughter actually was part of a group that got the dating law passed in Hartford, Connecticut. She was on the debating team, so she traveled. I'm really appalled of what has happened to my city. I really am. I don't know what happened here. But I'm sorry, the day that you give up on your own town, I'm sorry, that says something right there alone. See, the issue just didn't start here. It's been brewing for a while. Now, when we held the first city town meeting, and I was the mediator there, where were you then? Where were you then to voice your opinion? And there is not just one man on an island. We are united. And if we don't start acting united, Our kids are going to follow in the sad footsteps that we are showing them. You say it's not about color, but something was mentioned. Okay? So therefore, something's not right. We say we zone out members on the Board of Ed, but let's be honest with one another. How many times have you talked and your kids heard you talk? How many times did you say something that you didn't have all the facts? So until you get all the facts, what right do you have to say anything? Nothing at all. So get the facts from the beginning. And you don't come here. This is not a lynching mob. I'm sorry, it's not. And I'd be darned if I let Norwalk go back. I did not move back to Norwalk to give up. I didn't move back to say, you know what? The school system all around the world has issues. It's not just Norwalk. Wake up, Norwalk. We're still trying to play catch up with the system. Be honest. Be honest with yourself.
30 seconds.
And when you go, look in the mirror. If you have no sin in you, then you cast the first stone.
On deck, we have Mr. Eric Nieder.
Good evening, Mayor Rilling, Dr. Rivera. My name is Carolyn Fuller. I reside at 100 Stewart Avenue in Norwalk. I am the mother of past Norwalk public school students. I am the nanny to 6, not the nanny, but the nanny to 6 students who are presently right now in the Norwalk Public Schools. And I also am a paraprofessional at Jefferson Science Magnet School, the nationally recognized Blue Ribbon School, only elementary school in Connecticut. And I will say that as long as I come up here to this microphone, because that's something that this city needs to be proud of. We didn't get any kind of real recognition. Little part there on the Norwalk Public Schools website, but we got that for closing the achievement gap. I am the facilitator for a group called UGIMA, not Umoja, UGIMA, which means collective work and responsibility, made up of 4th and 5th grade students. And I'm here today, for 3 years, this was my 3rd year, 2014, we hosted a Black History Luncheon in February. Every member of this board was invited. Dr. Rivera came with Mr. Tony Dodona, Mrs. Mosby, Ms. Rivas in her absence, and Mrs. Murray. No one else has ever come forward to see what our kids are doing. It's not just a little group that we sit and play basketball or do. They, this year, said they wanted to invite some politicians. So we sat and wrote a letter to President Obama. That was their first choice. Sorry, Dr. Rivera. That was their first choice. And do you want to know the thrill that they got back, even though that we know the letter is written in his office and whatever, we got a letter back that said he would have loved to have come, but he was going to be out of the country that week. So then we moved on. We went to Governor Malloy. He couldn't come either. So then they said, well, what about people in Norwalk? And so we had Representative Morris, Representative Perrone. Dr. Rivera was there. We had the chief of police. We had Mayor Rilling. But they didn't see anybody else here from the Board of Ed, who everybody wants to yada, yada, yada about work for the children. So Dr. Rivera, if I may approach, I watch enough Judge Judy. This is just a little gift from the UGIMA Principal Collective at Jefferson School. You're going to take this with you and you're going to remember it because it's something from Jefferson. And you'll remember that we were the school, the only elementary school in Connecticut that was nationally recognized.
On deck is Mr. John Mosby.
My name is Eric Niederer. I reside at 36 Petham Road. I'm a lifelong Norwalk resident. I went through all of the Norwalk public education, the schools, Kendall Elementary School, Ponus Ridge Middle School, Norwalk High. Lived in Norwalk my entire life, except for when I was away at higher education. I was concerned to learn about Dr. Rivera's resignation. I was also concerned about learning of the high turnover rate for superintendents. There were many comments here today. I'm not going to rehash the comments. I think the one thing that may be of benefit from Dr. Rivera's resignation is that the parents, I think there will be a higher participation, higher monitoring. I'm reviewing the YouTube videos from the Board of Education meetings, and for anyone that wants to educate themselves, I encourage them to look at those videos. But I think if there is any positive takeaway, it's that the parents are aware that there appears to be an issue, and we're watching. Thank you. Good luck, Dr. Rivera.
And on deck is Miss Jennifer Romano.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is John Mosby, and I live at 15 Addison Avenue. And I'm no stranger to this board because I come to all of my board meetings. And I know what's going on. And tonight, I never felt so bad to hear people talk about race and talk against board members. That's wrong. I worked in this school for about 33 and a half years and busted my hump. I was head of my unit for 30 years. And I fought for equal pay and won everything and looked out for the working man. And I've been jumped on. My daughter was on this board, and like that lady said in 207, she was doing a good job. You throw off. She didn't go no more. I went around to all the homes, white and black. She won by 7,500 people. They wouldn't vote her if they thought she was that type of person. You tagged Mr. Duffy because his son was with a picture. She went to Roehaven School. All of my 5 kids went through the school. Miss Rosemary been on this board for over 20-some years. Miss Medallia been here 8 or 10 years. And I'm going to lay it on the line. The problem is these 6 board members. That's your problem over here. That's what your problem is. That's your blockers right there. And I'm sick and tired of people say they coming here now knowing what's going on. Y'all see me on TV all the time. You ain't invited us to NERC PTA meeting. Not one. When all the budgets come, you leave the blacks out. Now I told you Hispanics too. How you gonna run a place like this? You see what President Obama in this country talking about, and you hear all
Somebody's leaning against the light switch. Thank you.
And you see what Mr. Obama is saying in all these towns, in the community. You leaving out the blacks. You leaving out the Hispanic. We ain't gonna be able to survive in this country. Keep it up. Now you better cut this foolishness out in here. And I'm gonna say about the superintendent. I talked to Dr. Rivera up at 1 hour up in Bridge. And I said, Dr. Rivera, they got rid of missing Mark. I said, if you don't get us involved, you're gonna have a problem. I said, gonna leave you by yourself. Now y'all run Dr. Mark, and she said in the office, you was right. So let's don't come here and try to put it on the blacks. We're being mistreated in this town. Hind practice, 27 or 30 black teachers. I brought it up. 30 or 40 Hispanic. I brought it up. You got over 7, all the kids. We are the majority in the school too, black and Hispanic. You ain't hiding none of them. Jumping on Mr. Bruce Moore. The reason he can't do his job because y'all after him. You jumped on Tony the Donor. He did a good job when everybody was gone. Don't insult these board members. You should get rid of these guys if you want to get somebody. Thank you very much.
On deck is Mary Beth Beck. Mary Beth Beck, is she here? Yes, is that you back there? Okay, great.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Romano, and I live at 2 Pink Cloud Lane here in Norwalk. We've lived here for 5 years, so I don't have nearly the tenure in the town nor the history, and actually rather new to Connecticut as well. But we have 2 children at Columbus Magnet School, and we wanted to say, first and foremost, Dr. Rivera, my husband and I want to say thank you. Thank you for the hope that you brought to the teachers and the students. It's very interesting to see a 2-year or a second grader excited and proud of their superintendent. To know them by name, to be saying that this is the new stuff that we're learning because of the things that are happening, and the teachers are saying that too. So it felt like a serious, kick in the gut when we saw what was happening of your resignation. So we're very sorry to lose you. We hope that the Board of Ed, that whatever is happening and whatever you guys need to do to clean your house and to get things in order, that it happened and it happened fast. Because we have to go through election after election before we can get things changed and do our part. And our kids are going to be out of elementary school, out of middle school like that. And we don't have time. We just don't have time for this. So please do what you need to do. If it's micromanagement, whatever it is, see what part you personally have played in that role and see what you can do differently so that we can recruit, attract, and retain a quality superintendent for our town. When we first moved here, people at my office, again, we were new, said, are you sure you want to move to Norwalk? Are you sure that's the school system you want your kids in? And we said, yes, this was the diversity, this is the type of town that we wanted to be a part of. Just let's keep that. We heard from a realtor before. This is what we need to do for Norwalk. Please do your part, see what you can do, and all the parents will be watching and much more involved in doing ours as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on deck is Mr. Peter Toronto, and we only have 11 people left, so we're good.
Hi, Mary Beth Becker, 28 Morgan Avenue, and I hate public speaking, like with a total passion, but I'm here. I'm long involved in civic life in Norwalk, new to life in public school. My daughter's a freshman in high school and was in private school up until now, largely because we wanted something more than public school and the constant focus on test scores. It wasn't anything against Norwalk public schools, but sure enough, we knew about the crisis and chaos that would make its way in the news every now and then. 3 months in, have to say, so far so good. She's learning a lot, meeting great people. Got to meet Dr. Rivera at a parent meeting. And my daughter's principal raved that he's the best boss that she's ever had across multiple districts that she's worked in. And, very upsetting to hear him leaving. I have no idea what I really want to say today. I know that we have big work ahead of us, closing the achievement gap, all that stuff, but mostly ensuring that our kids are prepared for heading out into the real world and becoming members of a productive society, working together as adults to solve problems. As adults, we need to listen to each other and work together. It's clear we have issues in this community that are bigger than what's happening here. We're a diverse community, and that diversity can really be our strength, but right now I feel like we're diverse, but we're not integrated. We're not listening to each other. Our culture seems to be one of fighting. We're not listening to each other. I don't know. That's kind of all I have to say. And I'm always the one that says, can't we all just sing Kumbaya and get along? But that's kind of what I'm saying. So can we just figure it out as a community? Kind of everybody sitting up here, but as everybody said, all of us here together, we're all part of the same community. So let's work together. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Peter Toronto. I'm sorry.
On deck is Mr. Bill Crummell.
Hey, Bill. My name is Peter Toronto. I live at 104 Dry Hill Road in Norwalk. First, I'd like to thank Dr. Rivera, and I'd like to thank the coalition of 6, 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans, who have helped Mr. Rivera move the school district in the right direction. And I did have some prepared statements, but after hearing Mr. Mosby, I have to tell you that I find myself in the unusual position of actually agreeing with him. I think race doesn't belong on the Board of Education either. I don't think that anybody should be coming down here calling our board chairman a racist. I don't think groups should be coming down from Hartford and putting on demonstrations out front and calling Norwalk ground zero for racism. I don't think we should be described as the Ferguson of Connecticut. So I agree with you, Mr. Mosby. Thank you very much for making that point. I'd also like to thank all the families that came out, the parents, the teachers' organizations, the parent-teachers' organizations. I think you're going to make the difference. And the only way you can make the difference is at the voting booth. So I encourage you to vote when the time comes. Vote for the right person. I'm not advocating for Republican or Democrat. Vote for the right person. Thank you.
And on deck is Miss Regina Crummell.
Thank you for the privilege of addressing you tonight. I'm Bill Crummell, 34-year-old resident of 21 Little Fox Lane, past president, Norwalk State Technical College, past president, Bridgeport Engineering Institute, founding dean of the engineering school at Fairfield University. I am surprised that we don't seem to be looking forward what it is we have to do. Someone has mentioned that not to remember history is to be doomed to repeat it. What were the mistakes that were made in this process that we should not repeat going forward? I submit to you that the first mistake is lack of transparency. I remember a meeting that was called by the board. They were interviewing the proposed candidate for superintendent. It was a closed meeting. Gentlemen and ladies, that's intolerable. That leads to the kind of mistake that has been made here. There must be open meetings all the time. This is a democracy. We appreciate dissent. We appreciate criticism. We want to hear all sides. And the successful executive is able to take care of that, is able to surmount that, take that into their program, and move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, do not look for scapegoats. We must have dissidents. We must have criticism. There will always be people taking another side, and we go forward on that basis. So looking forward to the item on your agenda tonight for the RFP for the consultant, I think you have to focus on the ability of the proposed candidate to handle dissidents, to handle a school district that seems to have problems, to build upon that and make a successful entrepreneur. I think you must emphasize openness, you must emphasize tolerance, and you must emphasize that you are going to have people that are going to be critical of you, and you move forward on that basis. Thank you.
And after Regina Crummell is Martha Dumas. Is she here? Martha.
My name is Regina Crummell. I spent 15 years in the City University organizing an educational program.
I'm sure your address is the same. I just needed for the record.
21 Little Fox Lane.
I'm sure you live together.
Right.
Just for the record.
I live with Dr. William Crummell at 21 Little Fox Lane.
Thank you.
And I'm a friend of Peter Toronto.
Thank you. Okay. I don't know if that's going to help you much.
I think the last two speakers have made the most powerful statements I've heard tonight, and I think we have to take this very seriously. I spent 15 years as a teacher in the City University of New York working on Rikers Island Prison with the young men who were brutalized and who were sent there as juveniles. I've been watching the events in Ferguson, and I'm saying, do we want to be such a place? This is a divisive city. We have allowed it to be. We, white people, are responsible for divisiveness. We can't have scapegoats, and we cannot say, oh, we've been wonderful. In Rowayton and Belle Island, where they don't want to talk to the other people in District E, it's a divisive city, and it's time that we reach out to each other and we recognize that we stop scapegoating people on the Board of Education whose viewpoint might be speaking of one we don't know about. We have two cultures in this city, at least, and we have to start bridging these gaps and recognizing that all we PTOs and white people living in grand splendor here do not know about suffering, and that we listen to other people. And unless we have open meetings for choosing the administration of the Board of Education, yes, and the superintendent of schools, we will have this time and time again. Who comes to these meetings? Very few people. So I think we should stop criticizing 3 people on the Board of Education, and we should applaud the fact that they've had the courage to be divisive, because that is what democracy is all about. Thank you.
And after Ms. Dumas, we have Lorena Davison.
My name's Martha Dumas, and I reside at 162 South Main Street. That's in South Norwalk, Connecticut. And I'd like to also say this before I get started, because it's something that I noticed tonight so far, that everyone that has come to this mic tonight, everyone that has spoken, live outside of South Norwalk. So it's our community that might have the issue because of the blacks and the Hispanic and the more diversity in that area. And it's a fact that everyone don't learn the same. I also was a daycare teacher for toddlers for a nonprofit, and I learned a lot from toddlers. We was also taught in our classes at NCC the difference on how children learn. But I'm going to say right now, I was shocked, not really surprised of the resignation, but shocked at some people who made comments that 3 people is the cause of Dr. Rivera's decision. As a leader, you have to lead. You run across many obstacles with parents, community leaders, board members, and for some to think that 3 people would be the cause of this, to me, is people thinking small. Because I'm sure it's not the 3 that's running him out of Norwalk. He might have his own agenda. Board members elected from their community to work for their community. And the comment that Ms. Laura made, we're not stupid in our community. We elect people that we know will fight for us and try to get things across for us, because our children are the ones that are lacking.
30 seconds.
So your comment, let me tell you, we are very well educated in our community.
Good evening. My name is
After Ms. Davison is Mr. Robert Burgess. Okay.
Can I please pass that image to the board members? You can see it there. You don't need it? You don't need a copy?
I think it has to be
You can
passed
see it
out.
clearly there?
FOIA has to be passed out.
If you got it, we should take a copy, sure.
Thank you.
That's all right.
You want to give me, I'll pass them out.
My name is Lorena Davison. I live on 11 Live Oak Road here in Norwalk. I'm a Norwalk parent and also PTO president for Silvermine Elementary. And I have a few words, not eloquent, but just simple. The image that you see here on the screen, that's Catherine Schweitzer. She was the first woman to run the Boston Marathon in 1967. Now you see that picture there. She attempted to run the marathon, and it was a male-only run marathon. So they're trying to push her out. And when I saw this image, I thought of our town. And in this image, we could either be the ones pushing, the person who's trying to break a barrier, or we can be the person who is trying to create or bring a new vision or idea into our town. And we need to change that. So this is my message for everybody here tonight. We have an attitude problem in Norwalk. And everybody needs to change their attitude. Parents, students, teachers, Board of Ed officials, education, employees, central office, all of us need to overhaul this attitude. When someone new comes in with a bold idea, with a vision, we need to give it a try. If it doesn't work, okay, but let's give it a shot. We can see change. When Dr. Rivera came to Norwalk, I was a rep for the Silvermine PTO Council. And it was the first time that I heard this concept about the learning commons, transforming libraries into a more dynamic space, not the traditional library, but a space where there could be collaboration, training for teachers, learning for students. And I was very excited. And I thank you for that, Dr. Rivera, because you really inspired me. That night I went home, I started doing some research, and saw other schools around the country that did it. And I thought, oh, this is really cool. This is great. So I presented this to our PTO. We came up with a plan. We worked our butts off because we had to raise the money to buy the new furniture, carpeting, everything. But the greatest thing about this was that when we presented the project to Dr. Rivera, he said, yes, I'll support you. So I'm really sad that he's leaving because, so who's going to support us now? Who's going to be supporting these leaders that are visionaries? And that's just my message tonight. Please change your attitude, Norwalk. Let's all change our attitude. We're all responsible. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. After Mr. Burgess, it's Jeff Spar, and it's 3 left.
My name is Robert Burgess. I live at 37 Brooklawn Avenue, South Norwalk, Connecticut. I am, too, a fan of the superintendent. He and I had an occasion to meet at one time, and we had one disagreement. He wanted to bring a school into South Norwalk without consulting the whole community. He admitted that that was a mistake on his part. A man would admit that is a true man that could lead the Board of Education. But I think we are missing the point tonight. This meeting is a fine example of insensitivity to racial separation and bigotry, PTO parents. How about all the people in Norwalk? I know for a fact, well, I have it on good advice, that Dr. Rivera had other pressures put on him by other board members. Nobody's saying nothing about that, so why blame all the blame on 3 minority parents? I think what we are looking at tonight, I want to take you down memory path. We're not looking at the survival of a Board of Education. We are looking at the survival of a city of Norwalk. And what I've heard tonight, that's what we are coming to. I will ask this mayor tonight to appoint a panel to study race relationship in the city of Norwalk. I stand here because I can prove my point. In '82, Neon NACP, a group of parents and legal service, brought charges against the city of Norwalk for discrimination. There were 2 blacks on the Common Council, but all other Republicans. And Mike Lyons was involved in that. They denied us that request, so we took it to federal court. We met in Washington, we met in Boston, we met all over. But federal court ruled in our favor, said yes, there was discrimination in the city of Norwalk, and there must be corrective changes. So I'm asking the mayor, let's go back to memory lane. We forgot the past, where we have came from. I want the city to not start acting as though we live here together. I listened to Nora King tonight. She had the audacity to say Bruce Morris makes $80,000 a year. She's a public official, and that's wrong information. So when you speak, you should have your facts straight. I remember the same lady coming to South Norwalk a couple of years ago said, I will run all those people out of South Norwalk. I will have my people to primary you guys. I'm still standing here. If anybody want to have a personal conversation with me of my background and how many bank accounts was closed in my face, I'll be glad to do that.
30
But
seconds.
Mayor, please, the time is moving in the wrong direction. We will have a Ferguson if we don't take a hold of it. And I'm asking you to do something about it because we are moving in the wrong direction. We live in two communities apart from each other, and it shouldn't be that way. I thank you very much.
Thank you. After Mr. Spar, it's Angela Harrison.
My name is Jeffrey Spar. I live at 32 Stony Brook Road in Norwalk, Connecticut. As the city attorney, I will not comment on the Board of Education since I represent everybody here. And to everybody's chagrin, I'd like to just change the pace here. This is an open letter of thanks from a parent to Mr. Chris Rivera for the Norwalk High School Band. I wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate you on leading the Marching Bears to their 3rd straight MAC championship and their first U.S. Band's national championship. But I wanted to do more than congratulate you. I wanted to thank you on behalf of our family, particularly on behalf of our daughter, and for that matter, all the students in the band. Your tutelage and direction has given them so much, and maybe even more than you or any of us at this time, particularly the students themselves, can realize, though I hope someday they will. Yes, you have led them to 3 consecutive MAC championships, and yes, you have led them to a U.S. Band's national championship, and yes, you have given them great memories of these victories to look back on. However, in looking at their faces, I cannot help but see that you have given them so much more. They have a sense of pride and prestige, courage and confidence, and we have you to thank for this, as do they. Mr. Rivera, for many of these kids, this moment will be the best moment of their young lives, or certainly one of them. You and your staff have given that to them. We cannot thank you enough for that. You have made a positive impact on their lives. You have made their lives that much better. I know that your family is rightly proud of you and your accomplishments. However, they may be justly more proud of what you have allowed others to achieve. To Mr. Rivera, I know he's not here. I just want to say thank you as a parent. And you have given these kids the right to be proud of themselves, and that is priceless. And if anybody has gone to see the Norwalk High School Band, and if you want to see what Norwalk can be, you go to take a look at that band. My daughter is on the drum line. She's the only girl on the drum line. There's Asians, there's African Americans, there's Hispanics throughout the thing, throughout the whole band. That's where our emphasis should be, the Norwalk High School Band and other programs with that, so we can build from underneath the city of Norwalk. Thank you.
No Angela Harrison? Okay, so our last speaker who has signed up is Mr. Drew Todd.
Drew Todd, 19 Friendly Road in the great city of Norwalk. I was going to reread my letter dated November 23rd that I sent to the board, but you'll have a copy. Want me to sign it? I'll sign it for you. I heard a lot of things tonight. Not everything I agree with. Some I do. The one speaker who said that we need to wake up in Norwalk. She's right. We do need to wake up. And we need to wake up the fact that, unfortunately, majority of the speakers this evening, every other word was about race. We're separate. We're different. Come down to South Norwalk. I go to the South Norwalk train station all the time. I bring food to the shelter. Once we start separating people of all kinds, and we get oversensitive, like my client said the word "you people," I didn't know that was a racist term. Oh, stop it! That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
The oversensitivity. Everyone needs to take a break and relax and accept everybody. Yeah, the three people caused a lot of turmoil, and probably calling the best asset the city has seen in years a racist is unacceptable. It's unacceptable to me, and it's unacceptable to almost everybody in this room. I have coached in this city since I got here almost about 10 years ago. Been coaching for about 8. Every time I get the kids, first time I get them, I say, hey, what's your age, what's your name, where do you go to school? The last couple of years, they're all happy where they go, because those are changes. The kids are happy. I don't separate the kids either. As a matter of fact, I help those that are a little less fortunate, that need a little, maybe an extra bat, maybe a lift, maybe their parent gets, when the game starts at 7, they get there at 7:30. Whatever we need to do, everyone gets included. Nobody gets left out. And if they feel they get left out, I tell the parents, let me know. Tell me. We'll fix it. Trust me. I've been here a lot of these years. I've been up to Hartford fighting for money for this district. I am committed to staying here. My family's committed to staying here. Those budget, I was standing at Governor Malloy's task force at ECS when we cut $6 million. $6 million out of our budget. And I went to those meetings. I stayed here till 1 o'clock in the morning. Me and Andy Garfunkel stayed and watched. But you know what? Things started to change when Dr. Marks came here. They did. Maybe she wasn't the right person, but she had dreams and she had visions. And now we have the best asset that has come to this city. He has a dream, he has a vision. He's put swagger back in this great city. We're not Westport with all the bells and whistles, but it's good to dream, and we can't let our dreams die. Thank you.
Thank you. That is all that has signed up. Thank you very much, everybody, for your comments. We appreciate you coming out. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. All right, we'll proceed to the regular items of business. We'll start with Superintendent's report. Dr. Rivera.
Sure. First of all, I'd like to pass out a document to board members. This is a copy of the recently revised, it's for your information, it's our recently revised elementary progress report. I want to thank, there's a number of people who were involved in developing this progress report from the very beginning, from the school level, and then eventually we engaged a number of teachers as part of this process. And it was, in fact, an effort to really clarify for parents what we're doing with regard to reading and to be able to convey to parents how well our students are doing with regard to the K-5 literacy program. So I'm going to pass this out. You know, I would be remiss if I didn't make a couple of comments of some of the things that were said here tonight. First of all, I do want to thank many of you for the positive and very kind words that you have spoken.
Oh, you have an extra. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And I sincerely appreciate that. I also need to say that my decision to resign was not the result of one factor or two. There are many different factors that contributed to a very, very incredibly difficult and emotionally wrenching most difficult decision of my entire personal and professional career to leave Norwalk. Because when I came here and had the opportunity to visit with parents and go into homes and visit schools and visit classrooms and visit teachers, I could see just a tremendous passion and desire to move forward and to do the best we could for our children. And that turned me on, and that got me excited. And I think that is what helped build the fire that I had. The primary reasons for leaving, there are two primary reasons which happen to be personal in nature. And those are things that sometimes you feel uncomfortable sharing. It's not, you sometimes say, well, it's not necessarily anyone else's business. But I will say that those were my primary reasons. I said that repeatedly to people who have interviewed me. But I will say one thing also. In my heart and in my head, I know that Norwalk Public Schools can turn the corner and are destined for greatness. This is a wonderful community. And the only way to do it is when we are working together, when we are working in collaboration. When I talk to my staff and I talk about the values, I talk about collaborate, working together, working with our partners, doing what we can together, processing as much as we can and working closely together. I talk about professionalism. I talk about treating people with respect. Our children, our parents, our adults, everybody in the organization. Collaboration, professionalism, any one of my staff people will tell you they've heard me say this over and over again from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting. And I believe that everyone in this entire community, from our Common Council to our Board of Education to our varied individuals who represent different organizations and groups, we have to be united around one purpose, and it's our children. It is doing everything and anything possible to create great schools for our children. And you have to do that working together. I understand we live in a democracy. I understand that everyone has differences of opinions. I'm not a new superintendent. I'm not a rookie. I've been around the block. I've been in divisive situations before. And I admire when you get into a debate over the merits of an issue, or a good professional discussion of what's right or what's not right for children. And it's a focus on children, not driven by other purposes and other means. So my request, and I still have a couple more months here, but my request is that as a community, we stay focused. You stay focused on children. Make the best possible decisions on what's good for educationally for our children. That is what is going to make Norwalk Public Schools distinguished from every other school system in this state. This is a good community, good resources. Yeah, we don't have the Westport resources, but there's enough resources here today, and I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure that hopefully we don't lose the foundation funds that have come in, and that you can continue to get some of the funding that you need for the good initiatives that have gone to our children. So I guess I just needed to say that. I want to thank all of you for your support, for your tremendous encouragement, and for this wonderful experience that I've had. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rivera. We'll now proceed to the action items on the agenda. First item is item 6.1, approval of personnel. These are listed in the packet. Is there a motion to approve the personnel actions? Mr. Chairmani moves. Ms. Keys seconds. Any discussion? Ms. Mosby.
On the, on here at the bottom, I see that there's a resignation for Barbara Nielsen, and I just want some clarity. Sorry. I see that there's a resignation for Barbara Nielsen, so I just want some clarity because I believe she was one of the ones that we hired a few months ago. So I just want to find out if her leaving it. I want to find out if we've posted her job again, and what the. So I'm not sure if Mr. Palmer would like to come up and address it.
Well, okay. It is a, obviously, personnel matter. She has submitted her resignation, and there are reasons that she has established for that, which are a matter of personnel. I think the question, correct me if I'm wrong, is have we reposted the position?
Yes.
Have we reposted the position?
Yes, we have, and we've already set up a committee to start interviewing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving the personnel matters, please indicate. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Second on the agenda is approval of Board of Education meeting dates for 2015. This was discussed at the last meeting. The only notes are the February 17th meeting. The board members at that time thought we would leave it at that date, even though it's partial vacation week, with the feeling that if we get close to that date and people decide that there are conflicts or whatever, we could always move it at that time. The other move was the original meeting date was set for November 3, which is Election Day, so we moved that to November 10th so there wouldn't be a conflict with the election. So the chair would entertain a motion to approve the meeting dates for 2015. Mr. Kasimis moves. Is there a second? Ms. Keys, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the calendar, please indicate. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Third item is approval of policy 3160, transfer of funds between categories. Ms. Keys, you want to update us on this?
That kind of went back and forth a little bit. I think it started in finance. We talked about it in the board. We also brought it up back to policy. We did approve the proper language. It's on, it's 3160, but we did change the language stating that for school purposes of any such itemized estimate not to exceed a cumulative $10,000 in any one line item, transfers in excess of $10,000 shall come to the full board with a written explanation for approval.
Okay.
It did change the language a bit, and it did go back and forth to policy, but we felt we approved it, and it was ready for an action item to approve it.
Okay. Do you want to make the motion to approve?
Yes.
Okay, so moved. Is there a second? Mr. Barbas seconds. Any discussion on the item?
I just want to say Ms. Keys did a great job to put this together. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, no other comments, and we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of approving the amendment to policy 3160, please indicate. Unanimous, thank you. Next item is approval of requirements for State Department of Education approval of a grant application for the Norwalk Early Childhood Center. Manny, you want to
Sure.
bring some speed on this one?
Yeah. As you know, we have been searching for a site with which to consolidate a number of our, what we call 50-50 classes. They're 50% students with disabilities and 50% students who do not have disabilities. And we currently operate 8 throughout the district in a number of schools. One of the recommendations that was made 2 years ago in a report that I read when I first arrived here was that we would be better able to serve those children if, in fact, we consolidated resources and would be able to use more effectively some of the support staff, psychologists, social workers, and others who would be able to provide support to children. We were very, very fortunate. Mr. Alan Lowe and the mayor made us aware of a potential site on Allen Road where we might be able to actually, at some point in time, move and create this pre-K center. Since that time, we have been about the process of providing estimates of what it would cost to renovate that space. And that space is probably about 20 to 25% of the cost for 8 classrooms, as it would be for building a new school for 4 classrooms. So there really is significant savings here. We are going forth with submitting our application for additional funding, and this is part of a process that we have to go through in order to get reimbursement for a certain portion of the work. Not all, of course, but it could mean several $100,000 of reimbursement back to the Board of Education, back to the city. So that's what this is all about, and I'm pleased that the mayor and others have been supportive of this effort to get this work done, so hopefully it can open in August of 2015.
Okay. And I know we've been sort of juggling financing of this with, some of the surplus money that we generated from last year, I believe, also some capital budget funding that may be rerouted to this project?
Yes, Rich Rudel, correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously in the surplus that the board approved, we brought it to the Finance Committee and then to the full board, there was $770,000 of that to go for one time to support the funding. However, that was insufficient to do the kind of work that we needed to be done. And my understanding is that there is some capital that currently exists that has not been spent for other capital projects that we are going to be able to. Go ahead.
Correct. There was a sufficient balance in the overall capital budget fund from other projects that was available, but the city finance director, Tom Hamilton, made a recommendation to use that to fund the balance of the project, which also went to the Board of Estimate Taxation.
Okay. Good, thank you. All right, why don't I get a motion on the floor and then we'll discussion. So is there a motion to approve the grant application? Mr. Kasimis moves, Ms. Keys seconds. Discussion, Ms. Mosby?
Yeah, the capital budget money, that money is not money that's being taken away from schools that need to have repairs or something.
No, it's
So
access to projects that have closed out.
okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Keys?
I think this is a great, initiative. It's a great location. I'm very familiar with the location, right in Norwalk. It's right by the senior center where Tumblebuds is currently
That's
now,
right.
correct? Great location, very large, and I know that we're going to try to renovate and have everything accessible for young children, which they have now, but I know there's got to be a lot of work that has to be done to make sure it's up to par. I worked for many years at a preschool that had typical and atypical children, so I think it's great that we're having that combination. I think children can learn from each other, and I think it's great for Norwalk to have this, and I'm glad that we're able to implement this, and we're looking for 2015?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion, comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor of approving the application, please indicate. It is also unanimous, thank you. Next item is approve issuance of RFP for superintendent of school search consultant. This is in the packet. This is based on essentially the same document that we had sent out the last time. The purpose of this is simply to get the process started on the search for a permanent superintendent. This is a request for proposals that would go out to multiple search firms, asking them to submit proposals for the board to consider to hire a search consultant to help us through the process. To get this on the topic for discussion, is there a motion to approve? Okay, Mr. Barbas, second. Mr. Chiaramonte, discussion. Mr. Kasimis.
Can I vote no just to make Manny stay?
Ms. Mosby?
Can I vote no to make Manny stay?
On the agenda, I know we're going to be meeting in the executive session to discuss an intern position, and I was wondering if we could kind of like hold off on this because I believe that the community need to be more involved with this, and you just stated that this was something that was already put together from before. I think at that time, a lot of the community, certain segments of the community felt that they weren't part of it. And in order to make sure that this has everyone involved and be inclusive with everyone, to put these things out here, I think that the community need to have some kind of, say in it, and then we can go out and look for the search consultant. And I'm not saying not to do it, I'm just saying let's just hold off until we start to get some kind of feedback from the community.
Any other discussion?
I think
Mr. Barbas?
there was some talk about it last time, but we had many, many meetings. There was a very, a broad spectrum of both board members and educational experts that were part of that contributed to that process. And I'm not sure how you could add any more input. There were meetings across town, and there were, it was all based out of NCC, with Mr. Levinson in charge, directing it, and there were 3 of us, board members, were on that committee, so I'm not quite sure what we're going to add, and we really don't want to slow this process down. Time is of the essence.
Thank you. Ms. Murray?
Yes, I believe going through this process before, that there is a place that we can have that discussion in terms of maybe fine-tuning how we involve the community, which we already know and heard that was not part of it. I'm not so sure this is the spot. This seems like it's a generic piece to start the ball rolling. But we need to have a conversation about involving the entire committee, and I'm not sure this is the place. We were not successful. Mr. Barbas, I heard what you said, because we did walk through that process. But the fact of it, we failed. And that's why I'm looking at the fact that we need to revisit that. But at this point, this might be just to get the ball rolling, just to get it started, not to stop at this point, but we need to have a conversation and correct what had taken place in the last process. Okay?
Ms. Harris, and then Mr. Chermonti.
Several of the members of the audience suggested that Dr. Rivera be part of the review, and I just need to know if that's something that we can pursue. Is that appropriate? This is my first time going through this, so.
Well, Dr. Rivera has offered to me to give us whatever assistance he can in recommending names and, helping us go through the process while he's here. So there's nothing improper about him doing that. In fact, it would be very appropriate for him to do that. Mr. Chermonti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I stand with Mike Barbas. I think we've gone through this procedure before, and I think we did a pretty damn good job last time around. I just wish it would have stayed a lot longer. One thing I want to address is I listened to what Mr. Kreml was saying about transparency, and I understand his concern where he felt that we had to talk about superintendents in the open, wanted an open meeting. But there's more to it. We had that discussion, and in order to draw a better pool of superintendents that are out there, they wanted anonymity. You could not have people who are looking, gets back and it's in the open and being reported and getting back to their communities if they're looking to leave their district, and that severely cuts down on the pool that we will have. That's why we didn't have the public when we were having those initial meetings.
What do you have now?
You're not a member of the board, Mr. Kreml.
We do have a great superintendent, is what we have. I just want to clear that up.
Ms. Keys?
I look forward to having Dr. Rivera's input and advice. I mean, as you mentioned, you're not a rookie. You've been doing this for many, many years. But I think as we pursue our search for our next superintendent, if we can have your advice and your knowledge and your feedback, I think would be greatly appreciated. I think we need that.
Okay. I'll point out that Ms. Murray is correct that what we're talking about here says nothing about the conduct of the search process. All this is a request for proposals from firms on, what services they can provide us. We look at those proposals and then decide. As you know, the last time around, the consultant brought us potential plans that you could use for outreach to the community. It was our decision on which to use. In the same way, the decision about whether to maintain the confidentiality of the process or not, they can make a recommendation. We make the decision as we did last time. So this RFP doesn't even address those issues. This is just asking them to give us a proposal. What are your qualifications? What are the options that you can provide for us? What are the costs? What's the money? And once we get those in, then we can determine, the final scope of work. So I think at this point, that this isn't the correct time to address that. That should be addressed after we get the proposals in, and then we can start talking to these people and see what they can offer us. So, because of that, I would like us to proceed with this now. It is important to keep in mind that there is a season for filling positions like this. And what the experts have told us is that the best time to be out in the market looking for a superintendent is like February or March. And the last time, remember that Dr. Marks resigned in the summer, and we had a pretty extensive period of time to build up until we needed to go out into the market, and we got into the market the last time. We have a much more compressed time frame here. So I would like to get this thing out the door today so we can move forward there and make these kinds of decisions when we get the proposals in. Any other discussion? Okay. All right, motion is to, did we actually get a motion to approve?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yeah, you had
I did, motion and second. Okay, Secretary, you got that? Good, okay, she's paying better attention than me. All right, all in favor of approving the issuance of the RFP for superintendent search consultants, please indicate.
With regret.
I know. 1, 2, 3, 4. Unanimous, okay, good. That is approved. All right, next item on the agenda is October 2014 Financial Monthly Report. Mr. Rudel.
We discussed this at the last Finance Committee. Through the first 4 months, we have spent $39.3 million against an adjusted budget of $167 million. So we have spent just under 24% of our budget, under a theoretical rate of 33%, so we're well within budget.
Okay. Are there any, we ask you this question all the time, but there are obviously some timing issues. I mean, if you're tracking at 24 versus 33, correct, there may be some things that would bump that number closer.
Correct. So one of the items that I usually track is teacher salary. So teachers have the option of getting paid either 22 or 26 checks. Mm-hmm. So for those teachers who elect 26 checks, those pays are expensed in the summer, and we accrue them back. So even if we were to accrue those back, we'd still be under the theoretical rate.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. Any questions? No? Great. Excellent job, Mr. Rudel, as always. Okay, committee and representative reports. We'll start with Ms. Murray, Finance.
We had our last Finance Committee meeting where the staff, Rich, and the superintendent brought us the results of our focus groups. And I didn't look, but was that put in the packet for the board members? Actually, there was a...
I believe we sent it out to all board members.
Was it sent out? Was a PowerPoint
Yeah,
that the
almost
superintendent
certainly
provided
did.
for the committee? If it hasn't, then we'll include.
We'll make sure it gets out,
Okay.
but I'm almost, we'll double check.
But it just summarizes very neatly. And we're just looking at further going through our budget, because we know that, that's fast approaching.
Mm-hmm.
So we're on that. And we did have to move our budget meeting up. And I do believe we looked at the holiday, right?
I think we're geared up for next week.
10th?
Yeah.
10th. Due to the holidays and also for the budget approval that has to happen.
Now, I think my understanding is that the board would get a presentation at our next meeting, the 16th. It would be a presentation, not a vote on the budget.
That's correct.
And that we would be voting, I think, on January 6th, which gets us in within the time frame required for the city.
To get it to the city. Mr. Barbas is
I'm sorry,
on
Mr.
our
Barbas.
Finance Committee meeting.
I don't know if you saw my email, Rosa, but could we have that meeting, could it possibly start at 6 instead of 6:30?
I know that would make a lot of people very happy.
Multitasking. So-
Yes, the answer to that, if the other board members, if the other committee members are in agreement, then, as I said, I know it'll make a couple people very happy.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you. Mr. Kasimis, any reports?
Yes, athletics. Last week, as you know, the weather was iffy with the Thanksgiving Day game, and here in Norwalk, it's been a classic for the last decades. Tony, how many years? 40, 50 years? 50 years. It's a classic to have it every Thanksgiving Thursday morning. Other schools kind of started early and they made changes, but our guys, Joe Metaferri and Doug Marchetti, waited it out and made the right call. But I do want to say this, it's Doug Marchetti's first time that he ever did, first time as athletics director and first time he's ever put on the Thanksgiving Day game, and he did a fantastic job. So I want to commend him for that. I think Joe Metaferri also sent a nice email to him to commend him for doing such a great job, being a great host for the entire city. So the game was great. I know for one side of the town it wasn't so great, but this is the way it went. But yeah, yes. But all in all, it was a great game and a great day, and I want to commend both athletic directors.
Thank you. I attended that game as well. It was cold, but the game went forward. As a Norwalk High School graduate, I can't deny that I was pleased with the outcome, particularly since we expected to get crushed.
Yes.
And it was a real upset, and upsets are always fun. And we also got to see a live performance of that band show at halftime. So it was a great day. My report for curriculum and instruction, we have a meeting on December 9th where we're going to get a full update from Ms. Fensor, who's our special education director, on how are we doing against the special education objectives in the CREC report. We just heard that one of the biggest recommendations, which was to move forward with a centralized location for pre-K special ed, is now funded and ready to rock and roll, which is great. But she'll also be updating us on other matters relating to special ed. Ms. Keys, anything on the policy agenda?
Yeah, we pushed through policy 3160, so I'm happy about that. We've moved on that. Thanks, Rich, for moving along on that. We had a very healthy discussion about personnel issues, which Mr. Palmer gave a great presentation, so we have to review that a little bit further. We also spoke about flyers in our schools and the concerns that we have if they're approved, which they need to be approved prior. The superintendent needs to sign off on them before they can go to any of our schools. So there is some concern with flyers just going out with without any type of prior approval. So we are going to revisit that again and see if we can get a clear handle on that to make sure that we have the proper protocol before flyers are sent out.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Mr. Barbas, negotiations, personnel.
Negotiations and personnel, as you know, we negotiated a number of all of our contracts this summer, and we have one outstanding contract which should be wrapping up shortly, which is with our food service workers. We did put out a press release. I don't know if I missed one board meeting, so I don't know if it was, I don't think it was, but we did put out a press release about the third year of the Norwalk Federation of Teachers contract. We had a reopener, and that did end up going to arbitration, but I think both sides in the end were happy enough with the outcome. And so, everyone's done but the food service workers, and that should be done shortly.
Okay, that's a lot to clear off the deck. Good
It
work.
was a long summer.
All right, Jack, anything on facilities?
I'm meeting with Manning and seeing what we need to do. We discussed, we'll likely have a meeting the following week.
Yes. Okay. Any other reports from liaisons or anything? Okay, good. Next is board member announcements. Any announcements? Ms. Mosby?
We attended the CABE conference on November 14th. It was myself, Rosa, and Medalia. And it was quite interesting. We got to meet other board members and educators from different districts, and we had very good moderators that came in that went over different policies and school governance, all that stuff. The legal stuff, and how certain boards should function and all that stuff. It was a very good workshop, and the three of us really enjoyed it. And I had them, and they're sending me emails of the different items that was handed out to hand out the presentation. And at some point, I would like to share that with this board so that we can all read and see what every district is doing in general and that are aligned with CABE. And it was so maybe we can all go over the stuff and just read it. And But there's like new things that are coming out, things that deal with policies of all the new stuff and all that. So that was interesting. And then we saw a couple of our attorneys that presented, and it was good to talk to them and get their feedback and, views on different situations. So.
Thank you. Mr. Kasimis.
2 weeks ago, I went down to the Norwalk Police Department. The young astronauts were there, and they were serving Thanksgiving dinner as a thank you to all of our EMS, our Norwalk Police Department, Fire Department. And our kids did a fantastic job serving everyone, cleaning up, so polite, and I commend all of them. Did a wonderful job. I know Mayor was there as well.
Ms. Keys?
Can I ask a question, something on a different topic about the progress reports?
Sure.
Are these all set? Are these like?
These, I didn't even finish my report on that one because I
thought I left off. I'm like, all right.
But, Bruce is here, and Tony had involved and engaged a number of principals who contributed to it. But the work that they did, and Howie Zipperstein and Tina Saunders, there are other teachers who were part of this. They worked together for days and built on some of the additional work that principals had contributed to. And it's a wonderful, wonderful product. And I just really wanted to thank them also. And the idea here is, as we go through this transition to a standards-based reporting, that we provide enough clear language and information so that people can really begin to understand how their children are doing with regard to, as opposed to language that's perhaps lifted right out of the standards themselves. It doesn't really help you necessarily understand what's happening. So I'm just thrilled. They looked at other other progress reports from different cities across the state, and I was just so proud of it that I wanted to share it with you and thank them tonight.
I thought I missed something. So I was looking, I'm like, did I miss any more? But I just know that having 3 kids in the system, one that just graduated elementary school, looking at these progress reports, it's all in sync with Common Core.
That's exactly right.
Very concise, and again, I just looked at it briefly, so I want to look at it further, but these are all, before sometimes teachers, depending on time, might handwrite this. Is this all going to be computerized, or are they going to still write yes or no, or in a month, and, I know it's like November,
Yes.
March?
Yes.
The next marking period will all be in Power School. They're being imported right now. So
Okay. And this is going to be district-wide in Norwalk, correct? So when is this a go? Is this kind of in the, not pilot stage, but tweaking it, or is this a go?
This is the version for now. Correct me if I'm
Okay.
wrong. This letter was produced and is going out with parents. Teachers now have it, and up through, I believe it's December 12th, is when the elementary progress reports will be completed, the
Right.
first quarter, if you will, and then be distributed across the system. And so we brought a additional sort of sense of order, and but all that's going to be communicated within the next 7 business days.
I know we had the other progress report for years. I don't know, remember the last time it was updated, long, long time. So this is a great improvement from what we've had before. Thank you.
Any other comments? Well, I'd like to thank all the members of the public who came out and spoke tonight. I agree with the comments of many people who said that, what's Jefferson's old line, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. It is important for people in the public not to simply sit back after Election Day and lose sight of what's going on in their government, whether it's federal, state, or local. And we have put all of our meetings, are videotaped on the internet, all of our records are up on our website, so it is possible to see what's going on. And I urge people to do that, but also to come out and watch and speak. And I will tell you that I certainly can speak for many of the members of the board that we heard you, and I am absolutely determined not to allow this district to slide back. We are not going to tolerate mediocrity. I've said very often that the Norwalk school system is a good system that has the capacity to be great. But there are people in the system who like it just the way it is. And unfortunately, we have seen superintendent after superintendent, and this is a history that goes back decades, folks, My wife was on the Board of Education in the 1990s, when a very promising superintendent was driven out of town by people in the school system who didn't like his ideas for change. So I want to move forward as quickly as we can with a superintendent search. I want to get a interim superintendent in here who is going to take the strategic plan of Dr. Rivera's, which this board has approved, and continue running with it, and lay the groundwork for the permanent superintendent who comes in later to continue the momentum going. We have done a lot of great things in the last 18 months, and we have broken through some old barriers, not all of them, but people may remember that not that long ago, the NFT and the Board of Ed were at loggerheads on a continuous basis. And, Bruce Millian and I don't agree on everything, but we agree on a lot of things, and we have figured out a way, particularly with help from Mr. Barbas and Dr. Rivera, to get together and cordially work out our differences in a rational way. And I intend to continue to try to do that with anybody that wants to talk to us rationally. But I also am determined that, at least to the extent that I have the capacity to do it, I am not going to let this sidetrack us from moving forward with significant improvements to our school system. So I heard you. I think we all heard you, and we're not going to give up on turning Norwalk Public Schools into a great school system. All right. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. First is the set of October 21, 2014. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Kasimis moves. Is there a second? Mr. Chiaramonte seconds. Any changes, corrections, additions? Okay. Hearing none, we will proceed to a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate. 6, 7. All opposed? Abstentions? I'm just abstaining because I missed the meeting. I missed the meeting. Okay, so the minutes are approved, 7:02. The next set of minutes, excuse me, is November 4, 2014. Are there any, I'm sorry, first motion to approve, Mr. Kasimis, second, Mr. Chiaramonte. Any corrections, changes, Ms. Mosby?
On page 2 of 2, it's the section where I asked a question about the children being removed from grades temporarily, that it will be hard to bring the children back due to code violations if we don't leave any child in that school. And Dr. Rivera, he clarified that and agreed. And I don't have that on here, so I want that in the minutes.
Yeah, I recall that discussion. There was a question, the secretary, it was a discussion of if you move the children out of the building, in order to move them back in, do you have to bring the building fully up to code compliance? I recall that discussion.
Right.
So if you can, maybe listen to that section of the tape to get the exact wording, but that should be in the minutes.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other changes? No? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes as changed, please indicate. Who do we had? What do we have? We had 1, 2, 3, 4. We had 5 of us there, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us approving. Okay, opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries 504. All right, the last 2 items on the agenda are executive session items. I think we can vote to go into executive session for both simultaneously. Chair would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the discussion of pending litigation and the interim superintendent position. Mr. Kasimis moves. Ms. Keyes seconds. Discussion. All in favor? Motion carries. 5-minute recess. Okay. Chair would entertain a motion to extend the meeting beyond 11 p.m. Mr. Kasimis moves. Ms. Keyes seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Motion carries. Chair would entertain a motion to return to executive session for discussion of interim superintendent position. Somebody want to make a motion?
Did we vote? Didn't we vote on this?
Yeah, actually, we could do that now, and then you can go home.
Yeah, let's-
Good point. All right. Thank you.
That's what we're gonna do. Yeah.
Okay, Chair would entertain a motion to add to the agenda action on resolution of lawsuit Diaco versus Norwalk Public School District. Is there such a motion added to the agenda? Ms. Keys, second. Mr. Chiramonte. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. The item is added to the agenda. We haven't voted on it, we just added to the agenda.
Right, okay, good.
All right. The chair would entertain a motion as follows: to approve the settlement in the matter of Diaco versus Norwalk Public School District upon the terms and considerations as outlined in the executive session, and to authorize the chairman or his designee to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate the settlement. This approval is contingent on approval by the Norwalk Common Council. Is there such a motion? Mr. Chiramonte moves. Is there a second? Ms. Keys seconds. Is there discussion? Mr. Barbas?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No.
I didn't vote.
You're just waiting. Okay. He's jumping the gun on the vote. All right. All in favor of approving the resolution, please indicate. All opposed? Abstentions? One abstention. We got everybody's, no, we have, so it's 701?
Oh, yeah.
Do we have one abstention?
701, yeah.
Right, because we have one absent. So 701, approval, as noted, Mr. Spar. Thank you. Go get the Common Council to come up with its part of the deal. All right, now, Chair would entertain a motion to return to executive session to discuss interim superintendent. So moved. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. We're back in executive session.
Yay.
Drew.
Oh, Drew Todd?
He says they're all drinking at the table.